Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Robert McCaw. I'm CAIR's National Government Affairs Director, and we have a really great program today as part of Women's History Month. We're doing First in Politics, Women Breaking Barriers. Joining me today as co-host is Amana Siddiqui. She is the chair of CAIR California. We're very honored to have you join us. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And also joining us today are two Muslim sisters, women that broke barriers in American politics. We're really excited to have you. Yay. We have Melinda Huerta Lee. She is on the West Orange Board of Education in the state of New Jersey. And we also have Nida Allam, who is a Durham County Commissioner from North Carolina. So I'm also excited to have you here on this program.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a really fun program. With that, I really do want to just ask everyone, how are you doing right now? Are you safe? Are you doing well being elected officials from indoors, running CAIR from your house?
Yeah, I mean, we're just taking one day at a time, right?
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, it's not what I expected when I ran for office, but we've been doing well adjusting to the virtual life.
Okay. Well, I want to hear all about that because this is a very rare time in American history and politics, and you're living through it. So we definitely have some great questions for you. Sister Amana, do you have anything to add before we just jump right into it?
I think, Robert, we should just jump into the questions. You know, I'm really excited to hear from both of them about how, they're starting their careers and the journey that they had getting into politics, because it seems very overwhelming for me to think even how you would run and how you would do these things. And I'm sure balancing family and, all of the other things that just go with being a strong woman. So to be able to add politics in there is quite impressive.
All right. So before we're going to get started, I really want to dive into the bios of our two guests. Sister Amana, would you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about our two esteemed guests?
Yeah, so I would like to first talk about Nida. Nida is currently serving as her first term of the county commissioner after being elected in 2020. I don't think you'll ever forget the year you started your term, becoming the first Muslim woman elected to office in North Carolina. Before being elected to the Board of Commissioners, Nida served as the third vice chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party, where she brought different voices to the table and uplifted them. In 2018, Nida was appointed to Durham Mayor's Council for Women and was unanimously elected as the chair of the council. The council serves to alleviate the issues that women face in the city of Durham. Alongside partnership with the Women's Commission. Prior to this, Nida worked in the 2016 as a political director in North Carolina and served in other states for presidential campaigns with Bernie Sanders. Melinda is a product of the West Orange, New Jersey. So there's Orange counties everywhere. I'm in Orange County, California. So West Orange, New Jersey, K through 12 public school system. She and her husband are local small business owners of Way of the Tiger Martial Arts Academy, and they've been raising a blended family in West Orange. Melinda is a Mexican-American revert who grew up in New Jersey and is advocates of the importance of giving back and taking an active role in her community engagement. She serves as treasurer on the West Orange County PTA and a member of the Washington School, the Parent Advisory Committee, and is on the Public Relations Committee of the Board of Education. Her term is from 2021 to 2023. Mashallah, very impressive.
And just for our audience, I'm going to spring this on you. Sister Amana, can you tell us what led you to be the chair of one of the largest chapters in the CAIR network of chapters, CAIR California?
I have the great honor of serving as the board chair of the CAIR California. As you know, we have four, I don't know if you know, but I'll tell you, we have four local offices, one in San Diego, one in Los Angeles, where I live, close by, one in Sacramento, and also in the San Francisco Bay Area. And my love for CAIR has been over 2 decades. You know, being a Muslim American, knowing that I have a whole team behind me for any problems as a Muslim woman, for my children, and especially just knowing that comfort. I love CAIR, and I'm excited to be on here with you guys tonight.
Well, thank you so much. And what I've taken from those 3 biographies is that, you know, when you assume positions of community leadership, and it really, you come from not just doing one thing, but doing multiple things and really building a base of support in your community and just kind of being involved everywhere at once. So how you do it, I don't know, but I'm really interested to find out. And so that leads me to my first question for both our guests. How did you get started in your career in politics?
For me, it wasn't a traditional path, to be honest. I never thought I would find a career in politics. I mean, I was studying at NC State, one of the local universities, sustainable materials and technology. That was, I hope to get a job in sustainability after graduating. However, in February of 2015, as you all know, the Chapel Hill shooting occurred where I lost my close friend Yusra Abu Salha, her sister Razan Abu Salha, and her husband Dia Barakat in a hate crime where their neighbor murdered them because they were Muslim. And the way the media talked about the shooting and minimized their lives to a parking dispute really made me wonder, why is it that Muslims are talked about in this way, that our lives aren't valued the way that other lives are? And that really sparked an interest for me of looking at, how do I become more active in politics? How do I bring more Muslims to the table? And that's when I started looking at, you know, the presidential campaigns were gearing up, and I started looking at who's running for president and how are they talking about the Muslim community. And that's what intrigued me with the Sanders campaign. And after I worked for him, I came back to North Carolina. I was like, well, I can't stop now. We have to keep bringing Muslims to the table. I ran for vice chair of the state party. And through that role, I was actually able to hold the first iftar in North Carolina's history at the governor's mansion. And we were able to form the interfaith caucus of the state party. And all of these were different ways that we brought other people, different people of different backgrounds to the table to actually have conversations about how justice is a part of our religion and a part of our faiths. And eventually that led me to running for office myself.
Wow. I would just add, there are so many Muslims that were engaged with the Sanders campaign that I have seen gone on to run for office. So there is something about running with Bernie that has inspired a lot of Muslims to, you know, take it upon themselves. Sister Melinda, what brought you into politics?
Alhamdulillah. Assalamualaikum. Mashallah, that's a beautiful story, Sister Nida. So I guess same as Sister Nida, I really had no intention of getting involved in politics. I didn't, you know, this wasn't something that I went to school for or even was really involved in, I think. I started to get involved with my son's school a lot with PTA because growing up as a kid here in West Orange, I saw many active parents like in PTAs or Girl Scouts and doing all of these other things with their parents together. And my parents, I guess maybe I had younger brothers and things, so they were a bit busier with taking care of all of us that they couldn't dedicate, you know, individual time for each certain activities and things like that. So I always felt that I would have, you know, when I had kids, I wanted to be involved and, you know, get them involved in the community, town sports and different things like that, because I saw that even though we have the same opportunities, sometimes our families don't take advantage of those opportunities, whether it's for financial reasons or, you know, the fact that we're taking care of many children, or just we sometimes don't really know how to. And so when I started to get involved with the PTA, I started to see, you know, the concerns of certain parents were addressed. The more vocal parents, the ones that call in and email and, you know, show up at all of these meetings and things like that. Those are the parents that kind of get, I guess, more. And, you know, alhamdulillah, rightfully so. If you want something, that you must go out and get it. But being a child of immigrant parents, I think that we tend to stay low key. We don't want to make a fuss about anything, even if we're being wronged. We kind of just sweep things under the rug. And this is kind of something that is a fear factor. And I've noticed throughout, not just Mexican immigrants, but just immigrants in general. There's language barriers. There's concepts that don't exist in other countries, like, for example, the PTAs. There are not many countries that have, PTAs. It's more of like an American national kind of organization. And so I think learning how to do all of these things are really important. And also trying to dispel, the fact that you must be like a PhD holder to do any kind of roles. You don't have to have all of these kinds of, fancy and, well-earned degrees, right? But you have to, just be involved and care, and you have a child in school, and that's it. That's all the requirement that you need. You don't necessarily have to have anything more than that. And so I did grow up here in West Orange. Very diverse community, not just among religions, but amongst race, ethnicity, thoughts, and things like that. So I actually learned Islam from a rabbi. I worked at a Jewish restaurant, a Jewish kosher restaurant, and there was a rabbi, and I had so much curiosity about Islam. I just didn't know who to ask or how to ask, because I didn't recognize many Muslim women. I didn't, speak to many people that I knew were Muslim. And so when the rabbi would explain things to me, I felt he explained it, mashallah, beautifully. There was no like prejudice. He kind of made everything very, it's funny, my parents thought that I would be Jewish, not Muslim. Because I started to like learn about Islam, and then I learned about Judaism and things like that. And so yeah, just being involved. And I think I kept seeing a call to the community, like from different organizations in our local community, who wants to run for Board of Ed? We need somebody, maybe, does anybody know? And I kind of thought about it, and then I was just like, no. And then I kind of was like, at the last minute, kind of threw my hat in the ring, and I'm like, well, I guess maybe, if people think that I'm qualified, and it was like, there was like a lot of communication. Certain people told me to call this person, talk to this person. And it was really a community effort. Mashallah, it was beautiful, because I felt that I met so many people campaigning, whether it was virtually through phone calls and conversations. And it was literally like one by one. And I would be on the phone for like hours with different people throughout the days. And just mashallah, it was a big community effort, I think. And the fact that people knew me because of the small business, they knew my husband and the work that he's done within the martial arts. And we're all over New Jersey, but Jersey City and different types of towns. So we just had a lot of different experiences and people that we knew and support from all over. So alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. CAIR did a report we just issued called Breaking Barriers, and we found that 181 Muslims ran for office, 80 were elected. I forget the exact number, but the most candidates came from New Jersey. You were listed among those candidates. So New Jersey had a really strong showing in this election. So just thank you for contributing to those numbers. Whether it's county commission or board of education, those are really great community service positions. I always find a lot of those members keep on going to higher office. So I'm going to be really interested to have this conversation again in a couple of years and see if you're rerunning or, running up. With that, we have a ton of awesome questions. I think the next one, it's Amana's.
So listening to you just talking about your journey and how you ended up in this role, and how Robert was saying it's probably going to be a stepping stone to, other things if you choose. I think for me, the idea seems so difficult, like the process. Did you feel as a Muslim woman, I don't want to say attacked, but there was things about you that just because you were Muslim that people were already against you, just within your like the party, like, and then on top of that, you're a woman. So it's like you had two barriers. And then on top of that, you're visibly Muslim, you're wearing hijab. So there's like all of these things. And for me, the idea of going and running, and then I don't want the attacks on me. That's the thing that I think that, did you guys experience any of that? And if you did, how did you overcome that? Like, did your skin just get thicker? Or do you just learn how to like let it roll off your sleeve? So I don't know. I was just, that's what came to my mind when I heard you speak. So either one, Nida or Melinda.
I mean, there was definitely times where I wondered what I had gotten myself into, and that thought still crosses my mind. Even like in Durham County, North Carolina, it's a very progressive, very blue county, where my election was the primary because you don't typically have a general election. That's how blue it is. But even with it being that blue, I still received Islamophobic and bigoted comments where people at the polls who were working for other candidates were standing there saying, well, she'll never win because of that thing on her head. And this is people working for other Democrats. So it was definitely confusing to me because I didn't expect it. I thought like, okay, well, Durham is a more welcoming community. If I receive like hateful messages, it'll be from people outside of the county who just see my picture somewhere, which did happen. Like as soon as they would see that I was running, I would get those type of messages. There's messages that I receive also that are still comments on my anytime I post on social media saying, can you share your citizenship process? How did you become a US citizen? Can you tell us how, if you came here legally? Which are just questions that are unwarranted, basically because they see me, I look different than them. So they want to know, am I a legal citizen? And so there's like you get these types of comments and attacks for every aspect of your existence, for being a Muslim woman, for being a woman of color, for being an immigrant, for being young even. I would get one of the first campaign events I went to after announcing, somebody came up to me and asked me like, how old are you? I said 26. They asked me, okay, are you married? I said, yeah. The next question was, do you have any kids? And I said, no, I don't have any kids. He said, okay, well, how do you plan to be an elected official and pregnant or have kids? And in my mind, I was like, what does that have to do with my qualifications for the role? So for women and Muslim women, it's like we have to cross every single one of these hurdles and barriers to actually build the trust in our community. Not even like we talk about our platform, we talk about what we're going to achieve, what we want to do. And people are like, well, let's talk about your gender. Let's talk about what you look like. Let's talk about where you came from instead of your actual qualifications.
Melinda, how do you deal with because for me that's the hardest part. I'm like, I don't want the attacks. I'm like, they don't even know me, and I already see attacks on to other people. I'm like, man, they're just trying to do a job. So have you encountered that in any tools?
I think I have a different type of experience because I grew up in this town, and so a lot of people know me. I'm also Spanish. There's a large Hispanic Latino community here in West Orange, so I'm fluent. I speak Spanish, and I think that because families know me and have seen my like evolution, right, from being a little girl to being a single mom to now covering and being Muslim, and I have 4 kids, so I think that all of the struggles that the community has seen me go through, being a teen mom, and being determined to do certain things, they see and they have witnessed the struggles that I've gone through and overcome, and the successes that I've had. And so I think that has helped to make me, I guess, also relatable in a sense, because this is a new, I took Shahada in 2015. So for me to be Muslim it's a new experience. And mashallah, the Islamic community has been very supportive in, teaching me and guiding me through the religion as well. And, even, you know, family and things like that, community, they're understanding, and they ask me, they feel, I think, more comfortable also questioning and asking me. So I don't feel like I have necessarily been attacked. But I also think that, alhamdulillah, that I make people comfortable to be able to ask certain questions. So while others who may not know me might have certain, you know, judgments or prejudices against me, when they hear me speak or anything like that, I think that it lowers their guard, I guess, if you would, if you know, it makes them more comfortable to be able to speak to me, because I know that there's many misconceptions amongst Muslim women specifically, right? We're oppressed, even Latina women, you know, where we don't speak unless you're spoken to, and different things. So I also feel that sometimes people take kindness for weakness, and being a nice person, um, it's not always easy to be nice,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
you're right. You're right.
you know, it's you know, people think, oh, she's just a nice person. She's just a nice. They won't speak up. You know, she won't you know, make a fuss or anything like that. But I think that it is difficult to be nice all the time, right? And so I think navigating that, and just because you're nice or you're kind doesn't mean that you cannot be affirmative and stern with certain things and get your point across. So alhamdulillah, it's been fun.
No, that, and I, you know, Melinda, it's so nice to hear that you've had a positive experience coming into Islam and having that community support, because so often we hear, you know, of people not having that. So it was really nice to be able to see that your community was able to give you that support. So, you know, I'm really happy to hear that. And I think you're right about the kindness being taken as weakness, because, you know, sometimes because you're a nice person, you have to be able to still hold your own and not be taken advantage of. And I think that as women, that sometimes happens. And then yet when you're too stern, it's taken in the opposite direction, which is also detrimental. So I do have to say, both of you, mashallah, with dealing with it and your poise, you can see that. And I think that can go into the next question about building that trust, which you already touched upon, Melinda, about that, the work and speaking and engaging with the community. Oh, hi to your kids in the back. Will help with that. And Nida, how about you? I know, like for you, you worked your way from the, you know, inside the party and worked up. So do you have any thoughts on how to build up those relationships?
I think a lot of it comes down to just continuing to show up. And that was a main focus for me when I was officer of the party, is that I really wanted to see the party shift from only coming into communities when they want their vote, and only coming in election cycles and asking, especially communities of color, like, oh, we're here for you now, vote for us. And that was a big focus for me. And it's still, even as an elected official, like my term is 4 years. But that doesn't mean I just disappear from the community and show up 4 years later. I need to consistently go and volunteer and meet people where they're at and ask them, like, how is the county affecting you? How are the policies that we're enacting, are they benefiting you? What would you like to see more from us? Because that's what we need from our elected officials, especially the local elected officials, because everyone focuses on like federal office, but local office is really where you have the most direct impact on people's day-to-day lives. And so if you aren't present and actually communicating with people from all different parts of your community, then you're not truly being a representative for your entire county.
That's well said.
Alhamdulillah,
Sister
absolutely agree.
Melinda, sorry. Sister Melinda, Sister Alana just mentioned it a second ago, but how are you building trust between your community, and community means multiple communities, and you know the administration that you serve on as the county board of education?
So just exactly what Nida said, Sister Nida said, just being in the spaces and hearing people out and reaching out as well, not during election time or when it's time to go out and you know, bring out the vote, but just in general. And I think that this is something that whenever we're talking about injustices that go on and any type of problems that go on within the community, whether it's in your town or national, you have to be active. And this is something that actually I talk a lot among my family with. My family, we have a large, my dad is one of 12 and my mother is one of 6. So we have a pretty large family, have a lot of cousins and a lot of different, not necessarily religiously, but there's a lot of lifestyles. We have a lot of a big mix of different life choices that everyone has made. And so one thing that I always love the huge family gatherings and being able to come and talk. And I think a big problematic misconception is like you can't talk about religion and politics, right? It's like a taboo because people get passionate, people get upset. And I think that learning to talk about these things and understanding, like, yes, we're going to get passionate, and yes, you will be emotional, but those conversations need to be had. And so whether it doesn't matter how comfortable you are or uncomfortable you are, those conversations need to be had and need to be encouraged. And we have to create those spaces where people feel safe to express their thoughts. And I think that's when the truth comes out more. You will see people's true colors when they start to be comfortable or uncomfortable, right? How you react under pressure and how you react when you're under pressure or when things are easy. So it's easy to be, like I said, kind when things are nice and there's no problems, there's no adversity. But it's the times that are difficult and how we navigate and work together to overcome adversity is when the real test comes.
Thank you for that response. And since I have all three of you here, I have a question. I'm gonna in the future make my daughter, when she's writing a 6th grade social studies report, watch these responses so it's an easy report to write. But what do you hope to see for the future of women in American politics? Muslim women, all women. Very, very general.
We could start with Nida.
I think for me, like, alhamdulillah, I was able to be elected in North Carolina and become the first Muslim woman elected in the state. But I really hope to reach the point where, when we talk about women and Muslim women and women of different backgrounds and ethnicities, is that we're no longer looked at breaking the barriers. We're just really strong and powerful women who are leading in our communities, who are trying to make a difference in our communities and looking at us as actual community members that are trying to contribute to society. And I think that's really important for us, because for younger generations to be able to see that being in politics, being an organizer, working on a campaign is something that I can do, is something that is a space and realm that's open for me. Because I know when I first started on the Sanders campaign, even my entire community was confused. They're like, what are you even doing? What does it mean to work on a campaign? Even my parents, they're obviously very skeptical in the beginning, but now they're like my biggest supporters. But I want that for like the entire community to realize, to be supporters of Muslim women who want to join the realm of politics, because it's been such a taboo topic growing up, especially in a post 9/11 world. Muslim families just did not talk about politics, especially Muslim girls and women. But I want it to be normalized for us to be able to be vocal about what our views are, how we want to drive change in this world.
Absolutely agree. And just to
Thank
go off
you.
a little bit.
Oh, I think Melinda was speaking.
Yes.
And
So one thing I would definitely love to see more of is support systems for women and girls. Not just leaving it to. I think it becomes difficult when you feel like you're the only girl or the only hijabi or the only person doing something, right? Because I think it is an isolating thing, a feeling that occurs, and I think that contributes to the insecurity that women and girls feel of like, am I capable of doing this? Why are other women and girls not doing what I'm doing? And I think the more we see and mirror, we see and we see other people that look like us and you know, come from similar either backgrounds or have similar family structures. It's very important to see and to encourage. And I think that men also play a role in this, you know, being able to step aside and let the women take charge and support, right, and nurture this independence and this, you know, my husband, mashallah, has been a great partner in my campaign, in, you know, helping and being around to help with the children, because I do have 4 kids. So, you know, my husband, mashallah, cooks better than I do. Everybody knows this. It's not a secret, and I'm not ashamed to say that my husband does the majority of the cooking. You know, and if I'm cooking, it's something from the freezer, I'm throwing it in the oven. You know, alhamdulillah. So, you know, I
I'm
just
sure
think
he's a
that
good
it's
cook.
important. So it's important for, you know, to make it, you know, make it even across the board, you know, just to that there's not a specific role that women have to play all the time, right? Or like the stereotypical role that women have to be, you know, the housewife, or, you know, where, you know, alhamdulillah, mashallah, my first 2 older children, I was not as home as much. I was definitely working, going to school. But with my younger children, mashallah, I was able to have that experience as well, with being at home and not having to go out to work. And my husband was, you know, the supporter in that sense. And then when I just, you know, started to do my campaign and be more active, you know, our roles did switch. And so, mashallah, you know, I think that that also contributes. And then, you know, husbands and partners have to understand and also support that in other women, and empower us and help us to empower other women in that aspect.
MashaAllah.
The only thing I want to add to the comments made is that hearing you are your inspiration to other women. So I can tell you, my daughter, who's 12, when she sees somebody wearing hijab on a TV show, or she sees a photo of all of the Muslim candidates, and most of them are women, and most of them are wearing hijab, and then she sees different books where there's like a hijabi in the background, she gravitates towards that. And I didn't realize that seeing your representation is so important, because I grew up not ever seeing somebody that looked like me. You know, I went to a school where I was the only Pakistani American. They didn't even know where Pakistan was, you know, like I had to explain, it's next to India. They're like, okay, where's India? So, I mean, we have evolved, but I never really comprehended what it meant to be represented. And I think, you know, I thank you on behalf of Muslim women for being out there. When my daughter got to meet Ilhan Omar at a candidate's, you know, meet the a CAIR LA had hosted, I started tearing up, because I said, thank you for sacrificing for us. So I think as women, we tend to look and be like, oh, well, I wonder if she's there for her family. Oh, I wonder how, you know. No, it's like, you're working for me too. I'm here to support you. We're a community and a village, and we're all here to help each other. So if you can go out there and put yourselves in the, you know, in the line of fire, really, you're out there taking that, you know, those beatings, while we get to be behind you and reap the rewards. So as a Muslim woman, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the service you're doing, even though it's not in California and, you know, New Jersey and North Carolina. It's a big deal. So thank you for doing that. It's not easy. And the sacrifices that you're making, your personal, you know, I'm sure there's times where you've had to give up family time because you're serving the community. There's times when you've had to give up a social obligation because you're serving the community. And just to know that there are women like me that really do thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
I just want to join Sister Amana in thanking you so much for joining our program today. We've hit our end of the program half-hour goal. It was a really great conversation. I'm honestly so inspired to hear from all of you. This is going to be a must-watch program for my daughter, so I'm excited for that. But this is CAIR on the Air. Today's program again was First in Politics: Women Breaking Barriers. Joining me today was Sister Amana Siddiqui, who is the chair of the board for CAIR California. We also again had joining us Sister Melinda Huerta Lee, who serves on the West Orange Board of Education in North Carolina, and Sister Nida Allam, with the Durham County Commissioner's office in New Jersey. Actually, I just mixed that up. Sister Melinda is in New Jersey. Sister Nida is in North Carolina.
It's okay. You're
But
forgiven.
with that, I want to thank you both for joining our program. I want you all to come back to this program. We definitely need to hear your perspective again. Please, for the audience, watch us every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on CAIR's national Facebook page. And if you have any questions, please send them our way at info@cair.com. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for joining us again.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you so much again for having us.
Assalamualaikum.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamualaikum.